is talking about gender issues. Why I entered into gender issues is gender is also one of the development issues. So I look at as gender issues as one of the development issues. So as the economic development process takes place, so many issues are there, like so many, for example, poverty is an issue, inequality is an issue, unemployment is an issue. So similarly, gender inequality, gender issues are also part of the development process. So the kind of gender issues that developing countries face are different from the kind of gender issues that developed countries face. It's not that there are no issues there. And similarly, different cultures, because gender is culturally determined, gender issues. So that made me to look at the gender differences. So then I started working in this area, and my main area is gender and development. So in gender studies also, you have different branches. So before actually getting into formal this one, so those of you who are interested in doing some research from your own field, from your own area, you can also look gender issues. So because gender studies is a multidisciplinary, truly multidisciplinary research. So there are so many scholars who have contributed to gender studies, and many of them are from natural sciences and also the social sciences. Economics, of course, dominate the gender studies, and sociology, history, languages, and natural science. So many disciplines people have contributed to the gender studies. So I also request you to, when you are doing research, try to look at with gender lens. So now, two of my lectures, first lecture is to introduce you to the concepts. So why I give so much importance to concepts is not only this particular lecture, but generally also you are all very young and you still have got long way to go in your research and in your career. So one thing I want to express with my research experience is that you should have clarity about the concept. Unless until you know what it means, you can't use it. You should not use it, and you can't use it because in any different areas, you can't use it. So not only this particular class, but otherwise also, any concept that comes, you come across or you are using. So look at what it means. What does it mean? Gender inequality. What does precisely what it means? So gender, what it means? You know, male and female. But then people talk about gender. What is gender? And what is gender inequality? What is gender division of labor? What are gender, gender division of gender stereotypes? So unless until you are clear about all these concepts, you can't use them in any of your research or in your understanding. So that is why now first lecture I'm going to talk about the gender concepts, and second lecture I'm going to talk about its application. So all these gender concepts we are applying in different areas. So it is not possible to cover all the areas where these gender concepts are used, because in so many branches, not only in social sciences, natural sciences, we have feminist economics. So feminist economics is a branch which is developing like anything, and also ecofeminism. So ecologists looking at feminism. So there are different applications of these gender concepts. So in the second lecture, I'm going to talk about gender concepts applicable to gender budgeting. So how budgets are to be gender sensitive, or about that, I'm going to talk to you in the second lecture. So now I will just share it, because if I start talking like this, it goes unchecked and I may not be covering much. So I will just share my PPT. Where is this record apps? Share screen. Okay. Where is this? Okay. Yeah, this is gender concepts and applications. I will make it slideshow mode. Slideshow. Yeah, is it visible? Can anybody tell me, is it visible?
Yes, madam.
Yes, madam.
Yeah, fine. So we are talking about gender concepts and applications. So I will start with what is sex and what is gender. So generally people say gender means, we talk about only females. It is not. Gender means we are talking about both men and women. See, because sexual differences are biological differences between men and women, whereas gender differences are socially constructed. See, biological differences, this is a female, this is a male, or a baby is born and this is a male and this is a female. How we tell is depending on the physiological characteristics. And how to be born as a boy and born as a girl, it is determined by chance. So I think some of you, those who studied science, you will also be knowing that each one of us will carry 2 sets of chromosomes, X and Y. So double X chromosome, if a female, if a person has a double X chromosome, they will have the physical characteristics as a female. XY chromosome, they look like a man. So when a baby is born, so when a fetus is developed, we don't know whether it will carry X chromosome, XX chromosome or XY chromosome. So that combination, one chromosome comes from father and one chromosome comes from mother. So this set of chromosome, whether the baby is having XX chromosome and XY chromosome. So whether it becomes XX or XY, it is all fully chance factor. You can call it as God or nature or whatever. You can call it by any means. But the basic, why we are talking about this is because we have very little control over that. You can't combine, you can't just say, you can't produce only a female or you can't produce only a male. Because how these two come in combination, we don't know. It is biological. We can say it is biological. So on which we have very little control. So, but whereas what a boy should be doing, what a girl should be doing, what a boy should not be doing, what a girl should not be doing. So they are determined by us. See, in some communities, girls should not be going to school. In some communities, girls should be fully wearing burqa. Whereas in some communities, girls need not wear burqa. So all these are created by us. So socially given roles, gender is basically the socially constructed differences between men and women. So when we are talking about gender, we talk about both men and women. And the gender, why we are giving so much importance to gender is created by us. Gender differences are created by us, whereas sexual differences are not created by us. Sexual differences are biological, on which we have very little control, whereas on gender differences, we have control because they are made by us. And because they are made by us, when there is gender imbalance, we can always correct it. So being socially constructed, gender differences vary, as I told you. So gender differences are not everywhere, they are not the same. See, some whatever is not acceptable in Muslim community may be acceptable in Hindu community. So they differ in communities like Western culture, Indian culture. We all talk about Indian culture. So whatever is not acceptable in Indian culture is acceptable in Western culture. So that means, the rules and regulations, rules are there. They are different from Indian culture. So that means, they are made by the society, and, sexual differences vary across the variables. In the sense, the differences, boy or girl, man or woman, they are the same everywhere. You go anywhere, any entire world, man is a man, woman is a woman. So these sexual differences, so women will have their uterus and all reproductive organs, men have their own, men have their own. So these differences are common, whether you are a European, Indian, or French, or Irish, or anywhere, these differences are same. So that means, sexual differences, they don't change across the regions or across the cultures. But whereas gender differences, they are different. They are different. So because the gender is a socially constructed, so the gender differences can be, the gender disparities can be reduced. See, when I say that, gender is a social construct, so in our culture, women should not be going out and work. Women's responsibilities within the household, cook food for the family and take care of husband and children and old people. Whereas men will be going out and they earn food, they earn money for the family, and they bring home money. And then that is how actually in the good olden days, household is situated. So within the household, both men and women will be working. Women will be working inside the house. Man will be working outside the house. So that is how actually the division of labor took place. But what happened is, in this division of labor, this has got other repercussions. Means because a female need not go out to work, because a female need not go out to earn money. So female's health is not very important. So only man's health is important because man brings money. So similarly, female will be within the household. She doesn't go out. She doesn't bring money, hard money. So women doesn't need education because man has to go out and then man needs education. So only educate boys. Don't have to educate girls. And because man has to earn money, so give all good food to boys, but not necessarily to girls. So all these differences, these are gender disparities. These are gender differences. So they came about because of the gender roles. So gender roles are clearly men have to be going out and earning money. Men should be strong. Whereas women are within the household, they don't need to be educated and they don't need good food. They don't, their health is not to be necessarily taken care because they are not earning outside. So because of these gender roles, so gender disparities. So because of that, what happened is girls were never sent to school. Now things are much better. So now we have gender parity in school admissions and all. But that is how actually gender differences have come about. So now we are talking about the gender differences. See, this picture talks about gender versus sex versus gender. What is sex? Sexual differences are biological, gender differences are cultural. So each culture has their own definition of what a man should be doing, what a woman should be doing. And sexual differences are given by birth, whereas gender differences are learned through socialization. So a boy should not be doing all that we learn in the process of our growing up. So because of that, the sexual differences cannot be changed, whereas gender differences can be changed. And some examples are what cannot be changed. The differences are only women can give birth, man cannot give birth. Only men can impregnate. So these are because of the sexual differences. Only a man can do that and only a female can produce a baby. So these are based on the sexual differences, whereas biological differences. Whereas the social differences, that is gender differences, women and men can work as teachers, engineers, and laborers, and women and men can take care of children and elderly. See, never because of our gender roles, what happened? Child care is only female can do. Child care men cannot do. That is a kind of our understanding because roles are defined. But in reality, it is not. Both man and women both can take care of babies, children. So that is why gender differences can be removed. And if a female gets a job, it is not necessary to take care of, not necessary to give away, not to take job just because of her responsibilities. If a man is free, he can also take the responsibility of children. Whereas biologically, man may not be able to produce a child, but socially, a man can take care of the child. So these are the differences between the sex and the gender. So what is meant by gender roles? But these are just concepts I'm explaining and we'll be using them in our next session. So gender roles. Gender roles is nothing but it refers to the activities that a man and a woman actually do it. So in these gender roles can be defined as productive roles and reproductive roles. So productive roles are just going out to work, generating income, and which generally men do, and to make products or services as well as process raw material to get income. So these are productive roles. Productive roles means anything you do which generates income. So they are the productive roles, whereas reproductive roles are there. So reproductive roles are generally childbirth and related activities, and it is not necessarily only producing children. It is about taking care of the family, community, and fetching water. So they are also considered as the reproductive roles. So why we are talking about productive roles and reproductive roles is most of the women are engaged in the reproductive roles, whereas most men are engaged in the productive roles. So now what happened is even when the gender roles are changing, women are also doing productive roles. So all of us were working and you're also working means, you're also taking the productive roles, and apart from you are taking. But now the question is, as more of your productive roles increase, there is no corresponding decrease in the reproductive roles. Only productive roles are increasing. All of us are going and working. Whereas, hello, Mr. Hanjagi. It is very disturbing your video. What is happening? You just be in one place. Sir. Yay, Hanjagi. Number 16.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Number 16. Please be in one place. Number 16. Number 16. So video is too much disturbing, and he is walking and holding his phone, I think. So please be in one place. Otherwise, it is very disturbing. Number 16 number, not others, only number 16. Okay. So reproductive roles and productive roles. So because we are taking up more of productive roles, our reproductive roles has not come down. So because of that, it is creating work burden of females have increased because of increase in the productive roles. So then similarly, there is another classification of gender needs. So why we have to talk about gender needs? So why it is important to look at gender needs is, so if you know what are the gendered needs, so what men require, what women require. For example, working women. So working women, what working women require for a comfortable life is different from what a working man require, because for working women, they will be having babies and children. We need crush to take care of our babies when we are out. So these are the practical needs. So practical needs are different for men and women. So the economists have classified this one as practical needs and the strategic needs. So practical needs are, these are the needs that women identify in their socially accepted roles. So practical needs do not challenge the gender division. So practical needs are, just because you are a female, you need it. One simple example of practical needs is women menstruate every month. So they need menstrual pads. That is as simple as that. So that is a practical need. It doesn't question men, women, division of labor, nothing. It is a practically, you need it. That's it. That's a practical need. Whereas strategic needs are different. Strategic gender needs are different. So strategic gender needs are, these are needs women identify because of their subordinate position. So strategic gender needs, they are also different. For example, just because you are a female, your daughter, you won't get any share in the property of the parents. So if that is actually a strategic issue. So because you are a female, you have no right over your parents' property. So that is a gendered need which is to be taken care. So meeting strategic gender needs helps women to achieve greater equality. So strategic gender needs also change with the society and also with the community and the what is called laws that are existing. So what is gender analysis? So gender analysis is also very, very important concept. Why gender analysis is an important concept is, we do gender analysis when we are planning for a particular community or a particular area. So gender analysis means what? Analysis, we all do different kinds of analysis. But what is gender analysis is, it is an organized approach for considering the gender issues through the entire process of program or development. So for example, if some program is, you are implementing a program. So program, maybe some of you may be knowing, maybe we can think of watershed development, Jalanayana Abhiruddhi. Jalanayana Abhiruddhi is the one, watershed development is a program. So where, water conservation, soil and moisture conservation, water conservation takes place, and bunds will be cut, bunds will be put, so that, the water will be stored there and the crops can be grown and all sorts of things. So in this kind of intervention or a program, so how to take care of the requirements of men and women? So men requirement are different and women requirement are different. So to look at that, what women need out of this whole program. So then what we do is, we do what is called the gender analysis. So gender analysis requires separating data and information by sex. So in the sense, if I am planning it, so in that particular area, how many men are there? We need data. how many women are there. So among women, how many are educated? What are the education levels? What do they do? So how many are literate? All that information is needed to plan. And then gender analysis is done at all stages of development. So when you are planning also, you have to do gender analysis. And in the implementation also, you have to do gender analysis. Evaluation also, you have to do gender analysis. So by gender analysis, what we know is whether the benefits of this watershed development program, whether it is reaching to both men and women or not. So that we will be knowing by doing what is called the gender analysis. And there is another concept called gender sensitivity. See, now you are all attending gender sensitivity program, gender sensitization program. So what is gender sensitivity? Because why government is organizing, UGC is insisting on having some gender sensitivity programs and all. Because people really don't understand that there are gender differences. So female means, oh, female. That is a kind of thing. But gender sensitivity means what it is that this is the ability to perceive existing gender differences, issues and inequalities, and incorporate these into strategies and actions. So if the program is gender sensitive, they take into consideration the gender differences. So gender differences, for example, the literacy among men is more, and literacy does not mean that studying first which class or read and write, no. Higher education or access to resources, it is more among men than women. So in gender sensitivity program, what they do is, they will look at where the men are located, where women are located, what are the resources available, and who is having access to these resources. So taking into consideration, you will plan. So that is what is called a gender sensitivity, gender sensitive planning. So gender sensitivity is ability to understand, ability to pursue the gender differences. So that is what is called the gender sensitivity. And gender responsiveness. Gender responsiveness follows gender sensitivity. If planning is done with gender sensitivity, the responses will be according to the gender needs. So gender needs are different. So at different levels, the needs are different for both men and women. So if a program is oriented in understanding the gender differences and plan according to the gender needs, so then it becomes what is called the gender responsiveness. And gender audit. So nowadays people are talking about gender audit. What is gender audit? So gender audit is a process to assess the integration of gender concerns into policies, strategies, programs, and projects. I think some of you know what is meant by audit. So whether it is social audit or financial audit, any audit. So basically in audit, what you do is whether everything is according to the accepted thing or not. So in financial audit, you see whether there is whether sanction is there or not. And then you will see whether it is purchased from the sanctioned vendor or not, and whether you have a proper receipt or not. All that you will check ultimately and decide whether it has followed the audit process or not. So similarly, in gender audit, what you do is, in any program, once it is implemented, even before also it is possible to do. So once the program is implemented, we do gender audit. So in gender audit, we see whether this particular program has helped men and women equally or not, or it helped more men or it helped more women. So, or it has not helped women at all. So to assess that, we do what is called the gender audit. So when we are doing gender audit, we use all these concepts, which I told you earlier. We use the concept of gender differences. We use the concept of gender needs. And we also use gender analysis. So, and strategic needs and what is called your practical needs. All those concepts will be used in gender audit. So basically, gender audit is auditing with gender perspective. What is this gender division of labor? So we are all talking about gender division of labor. So gender division of labor means an overall societal pattern where women are allotted one set of gender roles and men are allotted another set of roles. So labor, like, taking care of household itself involves so much of labor. But within the household, men have got certain roles and women have got certain roles. In the sense, women will be cooking, cleaning vessels, and cleaning house, taking care of children. These are the, this is the labor women take up. Whereas men take up the job of getting something from outside the house, from market or earning money. So these are the responsibilities women take, men take. So this is what is called the division of labor. It is not that female cannot go out and buy things. And similarly, it is not that a man cannot wash the vessels, utensils, and clean the house. It is not. It is man also can do. Man is also born with 2 hands and two feet. And he can also do that. But our division of labor is like that. So within the household, it is women who will be doing all this, whereas men go out and they will be buying things. So this is what is called the gender division of labor. In many countries, the most obvious pattern in the gender division of labor is that women are mostly confined to. So, but why gender division of labor is important here for us, the development debates, is that in the process of gender division of labor, women are given inside the household labor, whereas men are outside the house. Women within the household, they do the work. So because it is mostly unpaid work. So the labor that is used, women's labor is used mainly for unpaid work, whereas men's labor is used mainly for paid work. And because women's labor is used mainly for unpaid work, women labor has no value. So a man, he goes for a while, he works for 8 hours, 10 hours, and he earns so much money. So his labor is valued. Whereas women also work so many hours. Women also work 8 hours, 10 hours in the household. But still, because it is an unpaid work, there is no value for this. So this is the gender division of labor. So in mostly paid work, men are there, unpaid work, women are there. So what is gender mainstreaming? So now many people are talking about gender mainstreaming. What is gender mainstreaming? Because of the gender inequalities. So gender mainstreaming is a strategy. So gender mainstreaming is a strategy to reduce the gender imbalance or gender gap. So mainstreaming, gender mainstreaming in development means addressing gender issues in all development programs, irrespective of the sector or type. So bringing in gender issues or taking care of gender roles or gender responsibilities in everything. See, considering gender differences. Considering the gender differences in every program, every policy is called gender mainstreaming. So mainstreaming is therefore the very opposite of the strategy of segregating gender. See, what we have seen is gender segregation we have seen. In the sense, most women are employed as sweepers, cleaners, and such kind of jobs. Men are employed in other better jobs. So that is gender division of labor. It is gender segregation. We can call it as gender segregation. You are segregating women in one and men as one. That is gender segregation. But whereas gender mainstreaming is opposite of that. Opposite of that, bringing women also into all sectors and creating opportunity for women also to participate in all sectors, not necessarily only the certain sectors where women are designated by the social roles. Now slowly things are changing and more women are also working into the other fields. So what is gender discrimination? So it looks very easy. Gender discrimination, oh, what is there? Discrimination between man and woman, that's all. But why gender discrimination is an important concept is, here the discrimination is not based on anything else, only based on gender. If you are discriminated, if you are not given opportunity, just because you are a female, otherwise in all other respects you are fit. In all the other respects you are equal to a man. But still you are not given an opportunity, means it is what is called the gender discrimination. Say for example, in any interview, so some boy and girl both will attend the interview. And both of them got equal marks and both of them have done perfectly well in all that. But still a boy is given opportunity, not a girl. Why? Because the people who are interviewing them, so their mind works, what is called, I call it as unwritten laws. So unwritten laws will be working. because by all other qualification wise, she is also equal to a boy, but this because of the working of the unwritten laws, they work against the girl. What are those laws is, a girl means she will get married tomorrow and she will leave the job, because wherever husband is there, she will go, and then have to again get one more person to appoint. And if she is already married, she will take maternity leave. So I have to provide maternity leave. And also girls means I have to give them extra protection. I have to arrange for transportation. So all these things will be working and you will be discriminated. So like this, any discrimination purely based on the sexual differences or gender differences, it is called what is called the gender discrimination. So gender norms. What is gender norms? So gender norms is the informal rules and social expectations. So as I told you, from a female, female when she is married means, she's bahu, she's daughter-in-law. So daughter-in-law should be at home. Daughter-in-law should be taking care of family. Daughter-in-law should be taking care of in-laws. So these are the norms that are set by the society. So norms, they are not constant. So they keep changing. Norms can be so pervasive that individuals mistakenly assume that they are natural. See, these norms are so much ingrained in our mind that we think they are natural. See, for example, I also come from a small family. I mean, small place, not family. Family is big. So a small place where, all females, never my mother was going out to buy anything from outside. Only my father was going, because those days it is very, very, very strict. Girls should not be going out and boys should only be going out. So I thought that, yes, maybe it is like this only. God only kept like this. Women should not be going. So I thought it is natural. Only when I grew up, when I came to a city, when I see everybody else, females also going out to work and females also going to shopping and other things, then I realized that it is only society created. It is not natural. So gender norms are created by the society, and these gender norms prevent from, for example, these gender norms are different in different societies, and they are different in different types of systems. For example, in patriarchal system, the gender norms are different. In patriarchal system, man is superior and man only controls, man is head of the household, and boys only get the property. So all these things have set in some norms for females. So females should be within the household, they don't need education. So all these norms are based on our social customs. So gender norms are created by the society. So gender equity and equality. This is another concept which I want you to learn. So generally it looks like equity and equality are one and the same, but they are not. So gender equity is the process of being fair to someone regardless of their sex or gender. See, just now I told you, so we have to achieve the gender equity, we need a fair process. So gender equity, giving equity that is a process. So in this process, what happens is there is a possibility of attaining gender equality. So gender equity is a process. See, for example, in an interview, both boy and girl do well. So take the girl, you don't discriminate because she is a female, and if she performs well, you take her and give the job. So that means, it is you are ensuring gender equity and giving opportunity for her. So then that leads to what is called the gender equality. So to ensure fairness, measures must be taken. So for example, I don't know if I have this example here. Yeah. And gender equality is the concept that all human beings are free to develop their personal abilities and make choices without limitations. See, gender equality is the end of it. So where, everybody gets equal opportunity to do what they want to do. But whereas gender equity is the process with which, for example, we have what is called Panchayat Raj institutions, we have reservation system. So when Government of India introduced reservation system, In Panchayat Raj, 33% reservation system, now it is 50%. So then some people argued why women should be given, why there should be some reservation for women. When women are asking for equal rights, why they should be given some reservation. So, but why it is reservation is, we have to look at the horizontal equity and vertical equity. So in a vertical equity, to achieve the vertical equity, anything you are talking about vertical means something up and something down. There is vertically they are situated. See, for example, for several decades, men are located there and women are here. Men have highly educated, men have access to resources, men have more money, men have more power. So, and they have good education. So all that, whereas women lack all these things. So now, if you want to reduce the gap, what we have to do is, we have to give a little more incentives for women to catch up. So to ensure the gender equality, what we are adopting is gender equity. Gender equity, that is vertical equity. We are, by giving the reservation system, we are giving what is called the, we are trying to attain gender equality by being equitable, by giving what is called vertical equity. So this is there is reason in giving the reservation system. In order to attain the equality, we are adopting equity measures. So this is equity and equality. It is equality is almost like what I have explained to you. Here one example is given, what is equality and equity. Provision of leadership training for women or establishing quota for women in decision-making positions. So this is one example, both daughter and son. Yeah. See, equality is, for example, if you have full resources, all this discrimination doesn't come. But only when there are funds are limited in poor families, if a boy is also educated, should be educated, girl is also should be educated. So if funds are limited, then parents take a decision depending on the gender roles. So a family has limited funds and both daughters and son need a pair of shoes for new school year, but only one can get new shoes. If the family decides which child will get the new shoes based on the child's need and not on the sex, this is an example of gender equality. See, it is not because you are a girl, okay, you don't need shoes. Because he is a boy, we'll buy shoes for him. So that is inequality. So you are not, you are discriminating between these two, two children. So if you buy based on your requirement, so then that is what is called the equality, gender equality. So gender equality means that the different behavior, aspirations, needs of men and women and identities are considered and valued. But you know, when they are considered, when the differences are considered, taken care. See, again, I'll come to the example of this Panchayat Raj institutions. So till the reservation is announced, hardly any women are seen. Even after reservation is announced also, for several years, women are only proxy because the constituency is reserved for women. So only women will join, women can contest. So any female in the household is brought and contesting and they got selected, but they got elected, but only men were ruling. So that was the situation. But still the visibility was not there. But in due course, what happened is because of the reservation system, many women got an opportunity to contest by themselves and take part in the local administration. So that way they are able to catch up. But you know, if that reservation system is not there, they would not have been able to realize their responsibility, their aspirations. They would not have been able to see their discharge their duties. So gender gap is a measure of gender inequality. So how to tell? Yes, there is gender inequality, but what to tell? How to tell there is gender inequality? Yes, gender inequality is taking place, but we need a measure to understand what is gender inequality. So it is gender gap is the measure, and it is a useful social development indicator. One can measure the gender between boys and girls in terms of health outcomes. See, for example, in school administration, we get a gender gap, whether both boys and girls are there or where the admissions are taking place. For example, by looking at gender gap at the primary level, high school level and higher secondary level, you will know whether gender gap is increasing or decreasing. For example, if you see primary level, there is no gender gap. Gender parity is there. So we have equal number of boys and girls. But whereas when you go to higher levels, there is some kind of gender gap is there. And that gender gap clearly tells because girls drop out after 10th standard or after PUC. So then there is a gender gap. So gender gap clearly tells about the gender inequality, and it is an indicator of this one. So what is gender bias? So it is also a concept. We also use it, gender bias. But what it is, gender bias is the tendency to make decisions or take actions based on preconceived notions of capability according to gender. See, many a time, oh, she's a female, she can't do it. So that means she won't be given the job or any work, even though she is capable. But our preconceived, we know, we have the preconceived thoughts. So because of this preconceived thoughts, what happens is, oh, she's a female, she can't do it, so let us not give to her. So that is bias. Just because she's a female, she didn't get the opportunity to do the work. And the decision is biased against her because she is a female. So that is what is called the gender bias. So here, not according to their capabilities, but because of their gender differences or their sexual differences, if they are given chance or not chance, so it becomes what is called the gender bias. And in employment, we have gender bias. And in, you see, if you look at the where women are located, in the sense like more women are in unorganized sector. So employment market is really biased against women. So there are more women in unorganized sector, whereas more men in organized sector. So, and now gender-based violence. So again, gender-based violence also is an issue. Gender-based violence is seen everywhere. So gender-based violence is violence that is directed at individuals based on their biological or sexual identity. So gender-based violence is just because you are a female, even a small kid, when female is going, they make comments. And because she is powerless and there is so much of pressure on her. So this violence is what is called the gender-based violence. So gender-based violence could be physical, sexual, or psychological. See, for example, gender-based violence not necessarily hitting. Because she is a female, she is not allowed to go to work and she has no money. When she asks for money, she will be abused or she will be, people shout at her. That is also violence. That is because she is a female. She has no access to resources. She is dependent on somebody, and that somebody will be shouting at her and abusing her. So all that is called what is called the gender-based violence. And even arbitrary deprivation of liberty. Deprivation of liberty is also gender-based violence. See, yes, you are interested in going for a job. You got a job, you want to go for job, but you want to join for the job. But you are not allowed because you are a female. So that means your liberty is lost. So deprived of the liberty. So that is also a kind of gender-based violence. And economic deprivation, whether it occurring within household or outside. Public domain or private domain, wherever it is, the gender-based violence is a big, big issue. Across the globe, gender-based violence and a lot of efforts are being taken, but still it is increasing. And India is one of the countries with a lot of gender-based violence. And if you are interested, you can also see National Family Health Survey. So Indian government conducts National Family Health Survey once in 5 years. And the latest 2021 reports are available. National Family Health Survey reports are available. You can also Google. So there they have asked certain questions about, have you ever experienced any violence past 20 years, I mean, for past 15 days of the survey, and what kind of violence you have experienced. So I think more than 30% of females have expressed that they have experienced gender-based violence. So that is our status. And gender stereotypes. So what is gender stereotypes is, for example, newsreaders. If a male newsreader is reading, nobody bothers about how that fellow is looking. They will only be looking at how he delivers the news. But similarly, if there is a female reader, newsreader reading, so everybody will be looking at what hairstyle she is having, what earrings she is wearing, what dress she is wearing, how is that dress. So instead of focusing on the content, they will be focusing only on her. So because female is stereotyped as an object, not as a human being. So that is what is called the gender stereotypes. See, for example, advertisements. In many advertisements where female doesn't use the product, but still female is the model. Because it is what is called the stereotyping. And also for example, girls should be obedient and cute, and they can cry, whereas boys should not be crying. So all these are stereotypes. If a boy cries, they tell, oh, what is this? You are crying like a female. Why can't a boy cry? Why can't a boy express his feelings? See, now I think you can understand much better what is meant by gender. Socially, we feel that boys should not be crying, because that comes from the feeling that, patriarchal society, man is strong, man should not be crying. Poor thing, man also has feelings. They should also be able to express. So these are stereotypes. A girl can cry, a boy cannot cry. So similarly, boys are good at maths, and nursing and such things suit to females. Not necessarily, girls also could be good at maths, and girls also could be, boys also could be good at nursing. So these stereotypes are gender stereotypes. Based on our society, you will find the gender stereotypes. In Europe and Western world, there are so many male nurses. But whereas in India, we have more female nurses. So these are the stereotypes that we have. So that is what is called the gender stereotypes. And they should be upper. And another thing is, like, anytime you are showing in school books and all, you'll see M for mother. Mother means mother will be standing and cooking in the kitchen. Father will be sitting and reading a book. So these are the stereotypes. So they should be questioned. Why mother cannot be shown as sitting and reading a book? Why father cannot be shown cooking in the kitchen? But we have that stereotypes. Male means should be doing this. Female means should be doing this. So these stereotypes, unless until we break these stereotypes, we can never be able to attain the gender equality. So empowerment. Empowerment, what is empowerment? We all talk about empowerment, women empowerment. Why only empowerment? Empowerment is a generic term. So empowerment is a generic term, and basically empowerment is you are able to do what you want to do. So if you are empowered, you will be able to live the life that you want to lead. If you are empowered, you will be able to question. If you are not able, you are not getting your entitlement. So if you are empowered means you will be able to transform what you want. For example, see here it is given there. Empowerment refers to expansion of people's capacity. Sir, ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು mute ಮಾಡಿ. Yeah. So empowerment refers to the expansion of people's capacity to make and act upon decisions and to transform those decisions into desired outcomes affecting all parts of their life. So this is lacking among women. That is why we talk about women empowerment. But empowerment is a concept which is applicable everywhere. For example, poor people, they are not empowered to ask for their entitlements. So we have to empower them, give them opportunity to look at what they have and what they are entitled for. So similarly, empowerment for women also. See, Naila Kabir has given this empowerment as is one. It entails of overcoming socioeconomic and other power inequalities in a context where this ability was previously denied. So programmatic interventions often focus specifically on empowering me because the inequalities in their socioeconomic status. So why generally we talk about women empowerment is there is more inequality in among women, and women are discriminated against men. So that is why we need to empower women so that they can claim their due position. So that's why women empowerment can be defined to promoting women's sense of self-worth, their ability to determine their own choices, and their right to influence social change for themselves and others. See, Amartya Sen says women are not just passive acceptors of any development programs. They should be part of the change. So they are capable of changing. So women empowerment is the empowerment of people of any gender. Gender empowerment is the empowerment of people of any gender. So when we are talking about women empowerment, we are talking about specifically females. But whereas gender empowerment, we are talking about both men and women. Well, conventionally, the aspect of it is mentioned for empowerment of women. The concept stresses the distinction between biological sex and as a role, also referring to other marginalized genders in a particular political or social context. So you will find even among men, so many are to be empowered. So the discrimination you will find wherever there is discrimination, it is important to empower them to question the inequalities. So, what is this gender blindness? Gender blindness. What is gender blindness? So gender blindness is failure to recognize the roles and responsibilities. And it is failure, if the policies are gender blind, what it means is they are not understanding, they are not trying to look at the gendered roles. What roles are given to women, what roles are given to men, they are not looking at it. So if policies are made without looking at these gender roles, so they are called gender blind policies. So without looking at, for example, women empowerment programs themselves. So women empowerment programs, initially in 80s and all, so many women empowerment programs, Mahila Samakya, they all have done women empowerment programs, promoting girl child education and all that. Fine. We have done all that. Now women are sure. Women know what they want. Women have got enough courage to understand that they are also capable of doing any work. But still they are not doing. Why? Because we have the cultural differences. So now our policies should be in accordance to that. But whereas if that is not taken care, so they become gender blind policies. So gender responsive budgeting. So gender responsive budgeting, I am going to talk about this in the next session, but basically it is government planning, programming and budgeting that contribute for the advancement of gender equality. I'll talk about it later. So actually patriarchy, I was talking about patriarchal system. So why all these gender discrimination and all these things are attributed to the patriarchal system? Why patriarchal system? What is patriarchal system? Is social system in which men hold the greatest power and leadership, privilege, moral authority, and access to resources and land. Land and everything is in the name of including in the family. Means, everything is in the name of man, not only properties, but also decision-making capacity, leading the family, taking decisions. All this is in the name of, in the hands of men. That is what is called the patriarchy. So equality, I have already explained to you, equity and equality. Gender blind policies. So gender blind policies mean they don't look at the gender differences. So where men and women, I think I'll give you one example of policy. See, tax policy. Government of India every year, because tax all of you will be knowing about the tax policies. So when government announces tax policy, so much of tax and all these things, and basically we will be looking at if there are any concessions, if there is any standard deduction and all sorts of things, we'll be looking at it. So when government announces this tax policy, they will say that, maybe 2.5 lakhs or something now people are talking about. Those who are earning less than 2.5 lakhs, they need not pay tax, and about 2.5 to 5 lakhs, 10% and something like that. So even they are giving 2.5 lakhs and they claim that they are gender sensitive policy, but it is not. Why? Because not many women are earning only so much. Women are earning much, much less. So all these tax policies won't affect even working women, because many women are in unorganized sector, first thing. And second thing is, many women are earning much less than this. Instead of doing this, if the government can reduce the prices of essential commodities which women use, if government can invest that much money on the providing public transportation, easy transportation for women, so that will be much, much more helpful than this. But and this kind of tax deduction, enhancing this, it will help men. It will help men because many men earn more than 2.5. So because of that, many men get benefited, whereas women don't get benefited. And another example of gender blind policies. Gender blind policies is initially when GST was introduced, goods and services tax, when Government of India announced the goods and services taxes. So they gave a list of items on 18% GST, 22% GST, like that they have given a list. Even women's sanitary pads are included in 18% tax. So 18% tax is on sanitary pads. How many women and girls will be able to afford the sanitary pads? Which is a practical need. I told you, it is a practical need. It is a practical need, and government did not bother about how many women are there in the world, in the country, and how much money they have to spend on pads if they increase the G by so much of amount, and how many will be deprived of the opportunity to go for safe care for them during menstruation. So this is gender blind completely. They have not looked at the practical needs of gender. So then feminist groups, they fought for it. They have raised the issue with the government. Then government has reduced date to some percentage, it has reduced. So then the policy became gender sensitive. So I'm giving an example of gender blind policy, not looking at gender needs. If policies are made, they become gender blind policies. But among even gender sensitive policies also, there are 3 types of gender sensitive policies. So one is gender neutral policies, second is gender specific, and gender redistributive policies. So gender neutral policies is Naila Kabir's framework. This gender neutral policies is here. So in gender neutral policies, they don't affect, they are assumed to affect both sexes and equally, both sexes equally. A gender neutral policy allocates resources to meet specific goals. In gender neutral policy, the resources are allocated assuming that both men and women, it affects both men and women equally. With that assumption, resources allocation takes place. In gender neutral policy, they don't specifically consider women's needs. So they consider both sexes equally and allocate resources. So that is what is called the gender neutral policies. But whereas gender specific policies, in gender specific policies, what happens is they take into consideration women and men's specific needs and allocate money according to the gender specific needs. So that is what is called the gender specific policies. And such policies identify specific strategies. Specifically addressing women, there are some policies, and those policies are what is called gender specific policies. There are certain policies which are addressing only men, and there are certain policies which are addressing women. So they are gender specific policies. But whereas gender redistributive policies, so these policies, they try to redistribute the power. So in a patriarchal society, as I told you, the power is with men. But gender redistributive policies, by giving opportunity for women in encouraging them to be in decision making. See, otherwise, Jila Panchayat only men, Gram Panchayat only men, no women at all. So by introducing the policy of giving a reservation, so some redistribution takes place. So women are also there in the decision-making policies. So that is what is called the gender redistributive policies. So they target both men and women. And gender redistributive policies is that they have the potential to create supportive conditions. Like this, by giving gender redistributive policies, giving women also opportunity. So they aim at in future, they create supportive conditions for women empowerment. So this is the very nice diagram. I think this is from World Development Report or something. So what this says is, we have informal institutions and households, formal institutions and markets in any economy. We have informal institutions, that is village systems and all those things. So formal institutions, we have Panchayat Raj institution, urban governance and all that are formal institutions. And we have markets, market system. And we also have households. So all these things will affect women and gender equality. So all these things are the policies, as I told you, gender neutral policies, gender sensitive policies. The policies work as a grease among all these cycles, and they will produce what is called the gender equality. So for bringing all these things together to form, we need a grease, that is what is called. So that is being given by the policies. Policies act as that, so that all these wheels move in one direction, so that gender equality can be attained both in economic opportunities and endowments and agencies. When all these things take place, again they will be reinforcing all these institutions. So it is a continuous process of this gender outcome, the gender and institutions. This is gender outcomes result from interaction. See why this diagram is the interaction between the informal institutions, formal institutions, markets and households create the opportunity for attainment of gender equality, but we need good policies. So it is very important to have the good policies. So how to integrate women in the policies is, we have three models. One is women and development programs, women in development programs, and gender and development programs. So in women and development programs, focus on involving women in the projects, whereas in women in development programs, interventions focus on women, separate group. Women in development means you make exclusive programs for women in the development program. Whereas now we have gender and development programs. So in earlier we had women and development and women in development program. Now we have gender and development. So in gender and development program, the project design, you will have both concerns of both men and women. As I told you, when we are talking about gender, we are talking about both men and women. So what are the needs of men and women? So in these projects, we will consider both an equal basis with men and women and see whether the projects will help, will take into consideration the gendered needs. So this is this status, I think, in 2020. So gender and development, global gender gap. This is World Economic Forum. They publish global gender report. So in this, out of 153 countries, so out of 153 countries where India stands. So, and in the global gender gap, India was in 98th position in 2006, but it has gone down to 112th position by 2020. So see, that is our status. So, and this one, economic participation and opportunity, we were in 110. It has gone down to 149. Imagine, out of 153 countries, economic participation and opportunity. See, this economic participation and opportunity means how many women are there in organized employment and what kind of facilities are there. All those indicators are taken in economic participation and opportunity. See, and educational attainment. In educational attainment, we were in 102 and we gone down to 112 position. And health and survival, we were in 103, we have gone down to 150 position. And political empowerment, we were in 20 position, we have come down, we have gone up to 18%. See, in political empowerment, we are scoring well. We are scoring well in political empowerment. Why? Because we have reservation system and we have so many women in Panchayat Raj, elected women, representatives, both rural and urban. So because of that, in political empowerment, we are doing well, but it doesn't mean anything. So if you look at more segregated data, all this is. So if you ask me how this economic participation and opportunity, so here labor force participation, wage equality, estimated earned income, women as senior officials and managers, professional and technical workers, all these are the indicators. In all these indicators, we are so low. We are so low means 149 position, and everywhere equal wage equality for similar work. So there we are in 117 position. So this is the situation. But literacy rate 127. But enrollment we are better in enrollment, and health and survival also. We are not doing well, and sex ratio at birth. Sex ratio at birth also we are in 149 position. So we have so much of bias in sex ratio. So we still have got long years to go before we reach gender equality in our country. So with this thing, I would like to stop. And also I want to listen to you. What you feel, what do you mean by gender equality? Do you think that it is important to have gender equality or not? So can anybody tell me, is it important to have gender equality? I want you people to talk. I'm stopping here because I want you to talk. Tell me. Yeah.
Definitely, we want gender equality, ma'am.
One of you speak, not everybody. I don't know why I'm not getting. No, your voice is getting cut. No, who is speaking? Who is speaking?
Nagaraj speaking, madam. Nagaraj speaking.
Nagaraj, yeah. Tell me, Nagaraj. I will switch off this. Yeah. Tell me, Nagaraj. Yeah, tell me. Where is Nagaraj? Yeah, I can't hear you. Elli, Nagaraj. Oh, we are not able to hear you, Nagaraj. Can anybody hear? If anybody else hears, they can let me know. Huh? Can anybody tell me? I am not able to hear Nagaraj. Okay, others. Can you hear me?
Madam, good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon, yeah.
Madam, in the beginning, we were explaining the concept of sex and gender. You told that we will have little control on the sex determination. In what way we will have a little control on the sex determination, madam?
No, we have no control over this determination, sex determination. No control. We can't determine to produce. If I want only a boy, I can't have it. It is not possible. So far, we have no scientist has come with some solution to produce only boys. Because both XX chromosome comes from female, XY chromosome comes from man. So whether the offspring will have doublets or XY, we don't know how the combination takes place.
Yes,
They have no
madam.
control. ಮಾಡಿಯಪ್ಪ ಬೇರೆಯವರು ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಯಾರಪ್ಪ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಯಪ್ಪ ಯಾ ಶಂಕರ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಎನಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಲೆಟ್ ಮಿ ನೋ ಯಾ
Yes, madam. What you are telling is correct now, but at that time when you are explaining the concept of sex, you told man will have little control over on the sex determination. That's why I asked the question.
Means no control. Little meaning is no control.
No control. Yes, madam.
That is the problem with English.
Yes.
Little control means you understood that there is some control.
Yes,
No,
madam.
little control
I
means
wanted
no
to
control.
know that little. Yes,
No
yes.
control. No control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yeah. Anybody else has? I think that time Nagaraj was speaking something. Where is Nagaraj? Nagaraj, you are telling something. Yeah.